They say every small American town hides a secret, but none hid theirs better than Coldwater Ridge, a quiet mountain town in Colorado where nothing ever happened. At least, that's what the locals claimed. But in the winter of 1978, when a blizzard ripped through the valley, a forgotten truth finally clawed its way back to the surface. 3 months ago, historian Elias Morton, a soft-spoken researcher from Denver, arrived in Coldwater Ridge after discovering a strange symbol in a Civil War-era journal. It was a circle crossed with 3 lines, and every time Elias found the symbol in old U.S. archives, the records were either blacked out, missing, or mysteriously burned. The last trace led to this town. Elias wasn't a man who believed in superstitions, yet from the moment he stepped off the bus, the town felt wrong. People stared too long. Doors closed too quickly. Even the snow felt quieter, as if it absorbed sound. He checked into the only motel, run by an elderly woman named Martha Dean. Her hands shook when she saw the symbol in his notebook. She whispered, "You should leave tonight. Some histories aren't meant to be uncovered." But Elias didn't leave. That was his first mistake. The next morning, he hiked to the abandoned mining tunnels on the outskirts of town, exactly where the old journal said the symbol had last been seen. The wind howled between the pines. Old wooden beams creaked under the weight of snow. Inside the first tunnel, he found nothing but rusted rails. But deeper inside, where even the lantern light struggled, Elias saw something carved into the rock. The same symbol, but bigger. Fresh-looking, as if carved not centuries ago, but days ago. He traced his fingertips over the grooves. Cold, clean, sharp. Suddenly, a voice echoed behind him. "You really don't want to go further." Elias turned. A tall man in a sheriff's jacket stood at the entrance, snow swirling around him. Sheriff Clay Hargrove. At first he seemed friendly, concerned even, warning Elias about unstable tunnels, sudden collapses, wild animals. But his eyes didn't match his words. There was something else there. Fear, or guilt. Elias mentioned the symbol. Clay froze. "No one carves that anymore. Not since the night we sealed the ridge." Elias asked, "Sealed what?" Clay didn't answer. He simply walked away, leaving fresh boot prints in the snow. Elias followed them, and that was his second mistake. At the sheriff's office, Elias noticed old photographs. Coldwater Ridge in 1905, 1890, even 1861. In nearly every photo, the same symbol showed up somewhere. Carved into a barn door, stitched on a jacket, etched onto a shovel handle. But one picture froze his breath. A group of miners standing in front of the ridge entrance. Behind them, faint but unmistakable, glowed the symbol. Not carved, but illuminated, like someone had set light behind the rock. Elias's pulse hammered. What kind of rock glows? What were they mining? He leaned closer. Suddenly, Clay grabbed the picture frame and flipped it face down. "That mine killed half the town," he said quietly. "Let it stay buried." That night, Elias couldn't sleep. Snow slammed against the windows, shaking the motel walls. Around 2:47 a.m., he heard a noise outside. Metal clinking, footsteps crunching through snow. He peeked through the blinds. 3 figures in heavy coats walked toward the woods, lanterns bobbing like small suns. And on their sleeves, the same symbol. Elias grabbed his coat and followed the lanterns through the storm. They moved in silence, not speaking, not looking around, like they'd walked this path 1,000 times. Finally, they reached a rusted metal hatch, half buried under snow. One figure turned a wheel, old metal groaned, and the hatch opened. Warm, golden light spilled out. Not lantern light. Something else. Something alive. The figures climbed down a ladder into the earth. Elias waited until their lantern glow faded, then climbed in after them. Below was a narrow stone corridor, not part of any mining system he'd ever studied. The walls were smooth, polished, carved with swirling lines. Ancient. Impossible. This wasn't built by miners. This was older. Much older. He followed the flickering shadows deeper until the corridor opened into a vast underground chamber. There he froze. At the center stood a massive stone obelisk glowing from within, pulsing faint golden light like a heartbeat. That same symbol wrapped around it, shifting like liquid. The three hooded figures knelt before it. One whispered, "Tonight it marks its cycle. We must keep the secret." Another, "As we have for 160 years." 160 years? That was before Colorado was even a state. Elias stepped backward, his breath loud in the hollow chamber. A rock slipped under his boot. The sound echoed. The figures turned sharply toward him. Their lantern light revealed their faces. Martha Dean, Sheriff Clay, and a man Elias hadn't seen before. But his features were wrong. His skin was pale, too pale, almost translucent in the obelisk light. "Elias Morton," Clay said, voice heavy. "You weren't supposed to see this." Martha stepped forward. Her eyes reflected the golden glow like molten metal. "This isn't evil, child. This is what keeps Coldwater Ridge alive. It feeds the earth. It keeps the storms away. It keeps the mountains standing." Elias shook his head. "What is it?" The third man smiled, too wide, too sharp. "It's older than America, older than the tribes, older than the mountains themselves." Elias stepped back toward the ladder. Clay blocked his path. "You can't leave," he said quietly. "Anyone who sees the chamber becomes part of it." The obelisk glowed brighter. The chamber walls shook. Symbols began sliding across the floor as if alive. Martha whispered, "It has chosen him." A beam of golden light shot from the obelisk. Elias shielded his eyes, but it was too late. The light wrapped around him, pulling him forward. The chamber echoed with a low hum, ancient and unearthly. Clay shouted, "Hold him steady." Martha cried, "The ridge must feed." The pale man smiled, whispering, "Welcome home." The light swallowed everything. Then, silence. Snowfall. Cold air.